Hello, everybody. This is Manel, having the pleasure to interview Alexandre Bigot-Verdier from our Quebec community. Hello, Alex.
Hello, Manel. How are you?
Good, thanks. I'm delighted to have this second go at the interview. So I'm going to repeat the questions that we had the last time. I hope you don't mind. All right. So tell us about how did you get to know about OuiShare and how did this journey start for you?
Oh, actually, it's kind of a family story. Actually, one of my cousin was at the beginning of OuiShare, and it was so it's Benjamin. Benjamin thinks that you know him, and it was constantly talking to me about OuiShare and how it was cool to have this great community, etc. And when I lived in Paris, I didn't go to any of the OuiShare events. I had my job. I had no time. So the story didn't begin in Paris for me, but I had to change my country. I moved to Canada, and when I arrived in Canada, I had some time. I had no job. I wanted to have a deeper impact. So I called back Benjamin and I asked him, okay, your OuiShare thing, do they have meetings in Canada and in Montreal in particular? And he said no, but if you're still interested, you can try to gather people and to connect a OuiShare community in Montreal. So that's why I began.
Okay, so you were there from the beginning?
Yeah, in Montreal
You were there from the very beginning then?
Yeah. When I arrived, some people were connected on Facebook, and a OuiShare Facebook page existed in Montreal, but people were not very active anymore. I think they had a trial they had a try in 2013, 2 years before I arrived. But when I arrived, they stopped activity, I think. So I gave a second life to the OuiShare community in Montreal.
Okay. So basically you arrived to Canada, you had no friends, so you decided to join the community.
Exactly. No friends, no job. I was desperate.
That makes sense. I think most of us, we've done the same thing. So let me ask you about your role. What were you actually doing on those early days?
On those early days, the main role was to try to gather people and to maintain a lot of events. So at the beginning, it was drinks. I have an excuse just to drink a beer together, talking about very specific subjects. So I made, I think, 5 or 6 drinks in the 6 fair months, and the idea was to bring people together and to make them have fun together, discussing all the transitions subjects, decentralization subjects, thanks to digital solutions. And after 4, 5, 6 months, people had great pleasure to be together, and it was a good time to say, okay, we have a community now, so we want to make some projects, and we invited some people from France to come to Quebec, and that's how it really began. Because when people from France arrived to Quebec to participate to events, because they were invited, they had some credibility, so we came with them and saying, we are the Quebec community of OuiShare, so if you like these people, we can do the same project together here in Montreal. And that's how it really began. So the first actions was to make the events, to gather the community, to make sure that people have pleasure to be together, and then make the connection with the credibility of people from France, and make things happen for the other projects.
What were the topics that interested the Quebec community in those early meetings?
In those early meetings, if I remember,
just the drinking or socially, or you also discussed certain aspects of the sharing economy, or?
Yeah, but when we began to discuss, it was the really beginning of the Uber controversy in Montreal. So people began, it was really beginning to ask questions about collaborative platforms and what are really their impact. And it was kind of interesting because it was 3 or 4 years after the controversy in Europe. So we had some data as a OuiShare community to share, and we were able to say, okay, you wonder what is the next step about collaborative platforms, who they are exactly. We can bring you some data, and we can bring you some reflections and some thinking, critical thinking about it. So it was one of the first subjects. So collaborative platforms, and the other one was the collaborative manufacturing. The Fab Lab movement, the Makerspace movement. A lot of people wondered about how it can have an impact in Montreal to build a Fab Lab network. So other actors on the ecosystem worked on that, but because of the POC21 project that happened few months before, we were able to bring some ideas and examples to the table about the impact of collaborative fabrication and open source. So we were able to make our first interesting events for the local community.
That was my next question. That there is the moments where, or the phase of the community where you are gathering for drinks once a month or rather frequently, and you talk about things. And then there is a moment where you start doing something, as in a project. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about that transition?
Yeah, exactly. It's a very important moment for the building of the community. At the beginning, it's completely normal. You just want to talk. You just want to share your expertise about the sharing economy and the sharing society. But at one point, the community has to do things and have an impact. And at this very important point, you can lose a lot of people of your community because some of the people are very interested in discussing, but don't really have the time or the energy to take just one subject and not the 12 subjects that we discuss every day. So just take one subject and make a concrete action for this subject. So it's very difficult to choose the subject. It's very difficult to find the right partners because if you want to have an impact and if your community have not the credibility in your city, you have to work with a partner that trusts you and that will give visibility to what you are doing. So you have to choose a subject, to find the partners, to find the people in your group that have the energy to really do it with a good quality. And for us, it happened because people from the OuiShare France community has been invited in Montreal, because Montreal is a French-speaking city. They were invited to make conferences. And thanks to these conferences, a lot of potential partners came and introduced themselves and said they were interested to work with OuiShare. And so that's why we began our 2 first projects. The first because Antonin Léonard came in Montreal to talk about sharing economy, and so we began to map the collaborative ecosystem of Quebec with a university that has invited Antonin. And the second project was our Eco2 Fest, which is really inspired by POC21, because some people of POC21 came to Montreal to explain what they did during the summer of POC21, and a lot of sustainable development associations loved it and said to us, okay, if you want to do the same thing in Quebec, we will support you. And that's why we had a second team working on Eco2 Fest very quickly, because we had the partners. So this is how it happened for us.
Okay, so let me try to summarize. You started, and during 6 months, you were having regular drinks, and you were talking. Then you were making use of people coming from France for events or on purpose to gather interest from potential partners or people from the ecosystem. And then also you started this project, which is the mapping of the sharing economy in Quebec.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good sum up.
Then you mentioned the other day that you guys started collaborating with the university, and that gave you a certain level of reputation, if you like, within your environment. Can you tell us how that relationship started?
Yeah, but as I said, what made those things happen at the beginning was the coming of Antonin in Montreal. He had been invited by the University of Quebec in Montreal to make a conference about the sharing economy and how this movement went in Europe, and what was the stakes, what was the next steps, and he has been invited by this university, and we came to this conference saying, okay, it's great that you invited Antonin, but you know that you have a OuiShare community here, and we share the expertise with them, and we are a decentralized community, so we are connected to the French community, and we can deliver the same type of expertise. And so this university said, okay, great, because we don't have any data about collaborative economy in Montreal and in Quebec. So if you can work with us, we would love to make a mapping of the collaborative ecosystem. So this is
so the university was involved also in this mapping.
Yeah. We worked with them, and this is why we had some credibility about it, because it was a co-signed work, and it gave us the visibility and the credibility for the media and for the people to actually click on the link, because I don't think if we published it as just the OuiShare Quebec community, I don't think that we will have the visibility for having an impact and making sure that people really use the mapping.
Well, thanks. So that was your early days. Then the milestone when you move into a group of people who were doing work together. Can you give us a picture of OuiShare Quebec today?
Yeah, so this was 2 years ago, and now, 1 year and a half, I think. And now, I think we are 20 active members within the OuiShare Quebec community. And within these 20 active members, we are 3 or 4 people which are connectors and really involved. At least worked part-time for OuiShare. Some of us gain some revenue from the work that we do in OuiShare, because since all these projects that gave us credibility, we worked with companies, and we work with cities and territories to help them to understand the stakes of this digital decentralization and how they can do differently. So it's kind of consulting contracts time to time. So some people, they begin to have a sustainable livelihood thanks to the OuiShare Quebec community, and so this is 3 or 4 people, and then 20 active members which work on the other free and important projects of the community to maintain the credibility and the public image of OuiShare.
And your main project being the Eco2Fest.
Yeah, actually, our main project in Quebec is the Eco2Fest. It was our first big public project last year. Last year it was a 5 days acceleration camp for open source projects. Like POC21. POC21 was 5 weeks, but we did it in 5 days because we didn't have the same budget. But it was great to gather a community around this project, all the makerspace ecosystem and the open source ecosystem in Montreal. So we gather these people around the Eco2Fest last year, and so we decided to make another Eco2Fest this year, but that will be greater, that will happen during 4 months and in 3 different cities. And our real objective with this new Eco2 Fest is to bring more Fab Labs, more makerspace with us, because we try to have an impact on all the makerspace network, help itself, and really have an impact on, in Quebec. So yeah, Eco2 Fest is our main project. And we also have, as I said, consulting project for the city of Montreal and some of the small municipalities of Montreal. And we also have a second big event that will arrive in June 2017. OuiShare take part to a great sustainable mobility summit in Montreal, and we organize some of the conferences within this big event. So this is how we work now.
Quite busy.
Yeah.
When you work with the authorities, how does that work happen? How do you provide that consultation work?
On different levels. On different levels. I try to think about the answer to be clear. The first level is with the small municipalities in Montreal. You know that you have the big Montreal center city, and you have a lot of decentralized municipalities. And when we work with the municipalities, really local. It's really local understanding and how the digital transformation can help them to have a different impact on their population. Do they want to make citizen to give more power to citizens, to say, okay, you can make a group of citizens in this neighborhood and gather and tell exactly what do you want for your municipality, and we will give you the tools, the digital tools, to help you take decisions about your neighborhood and what is exactly the impact on the decisions you are taken. And so we help them to choose the tools and to choose the subject on which they want their citizens to collaborate, depending on the need of the municipality. So this is really concrete and very, really local for these municipalities. And we also work.
But is that something that you guys do on a one call?
On a what?
Sorry. So just to understand that I'm trying to compare with other initiatives like in Spain and Latin America. They have these OuiShare Territorios, which is a way to work with the authorities.
Yeah, exactly. So, at the beginning, it was very Shareitories or OuiShare Territory initiative. That's how we try to market the approach. So yeah, exactly. At the beginning, it was very linked to OuiShare Territories. The format of OuiShare Territories, which is the two workshops with the elected people, etc., was not selected at the end, but it's exactly how we tried to sell OuiShare. It was thanks to the OuiShare Territories branding.
Yeah, that reminds me of what you were saying in the summit in Lisbon, that you've been stealing the work done by other communities.
Exactly.
Which is great. That's what we all should be doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's in the heart of the open source project that we're trying to connect with all the communities so we can learn from each other. So if you've done certain activities with local authorities in Montreal, that people in Buenos Aires or people in Barcelona, we can learn from your experiences, and we can also showcase to say, look, we did this in Quebec, and anyway.
And your work is very important about that, I think, because it's completely the interest of OuiShare and completely the interest of decentralized communities is being able to duplicate what we do in Paris or what we do in Madrid or what we do in London to another continent, and it's a great power because. At the beginning, I had nothing to do with OuiShare, and just because I showed that I respected the values and that I was vibrating for OuiShare. I had access to all this information and all these great people, and I was able to build my own professional life in another country, another continent, with the brand OuiShare, with all the great projects that OuiShare has done in Europe, and we do it another way in Montreal, but it brings an impact in Montreal because we were interested to do it and because we were able to do it. And the more information and the more transparency that we put on this project, the easier it will be to duplicate them in other cities.
That brings me to another question, is about the connectivity. So there is this cluster of 4 or 5 connectors, 20 active members, and people in the, in the Quebec universe or the OuiShare area of influence. So you are obviously, you Alex, you're quite connected with lots of people in the Paris community and in some other communities. But are there connections also between other members of Quebec with other communities, international communities?
It begins. We try to come to Europe as often as we can to maintain the connection between Quebec and Europe. We try to invite people from France as often as we can. For instance, we organized a North America summit last year to try to gather all the people, the OuiShare friends during one weekend. So we invited Francesca for a lot of people to know Francesca, for them to make friends with her and have their own connection with Francesca. When we came to the summit, I came with Agathe, which is another great connector in Quebec, because we wanted that other connectors than me have connection with Europe. Laurence came with me and the OuiShare Fest, and we have a OuiShare Fest in 3 months actually in France, and we are trying to fund the travel of the most Quebecers possible for them to come to Europe and make friends with all the other connectors and OuiShare members. So yeah, at the beginning I was the only one having connection with France, but we try that all the connectors have the chance to come to Europe, to take part to European projects, events, and make friends with other members to have their own connections.
I guess a few of my questions have been about how were your early steps, the important milestones, and your learnings from that process. Then recently you've been very successful and you got major projects, and also you work with partners, which provides a certain level of income. Another question would be, what is going to be the near future? Maybe I'm advancing here because I know that you're coming back to Europe. So what is the plan for Quebec?
The plan for Quebec is to have a great Eco2 Fest this year. That will end in November, so it's kind of in 6 months. As I said, the Eco2 Fest is really our biggest event here, so it has to be a success in 2017, and to think about the next one. I hope and I think that it will have a great Eco2 Fest in 2018. I think we have to strengthen our relationship with our partners. For now, it's kind of a solo opportunities. So we meet some guy here, so we make a project with him. We meet another guy from the municipality, we make a contract with him. But we have to gain some sustainability within our opportunities. So to make long-term partnerships, for instance, as OuiShare did in Paris with the Maïf, we have a great partner here, which is Desjardins, which is a potential great partner, but it's a great financial cooperative. But this type of partner, we have to make long-term partnership with them, identify how we can help them on the long term, give them long term added value, to be sure that the community is sustainable, and that the members of the community are financially sustainable, to move all different projects that we can do, because a lot of impactful projects are not well paid. So if we want to keep the talented people that work on this project, there has to be a work for financial resilience for everyone. So I would say that the main challenge is to make long-term partnerships and to ensure the financial resilience of the most talented members of the community, to give them the opportunity to make things with OuiShare, but paid things to make them stay and to develop the projects within OuiShare.
Yeah, also in Barcelona, we have identified that as one of our key challenges, is to be able to be more resilient by generating certain income that then the community can use to fuel projects and the investment of certain amount of hours to do the work.
Yeah.
So,
And you know, when people within OuiShare work well, and know we have some exposure to the media, and we have some credibility when we do a great project, so you know, you can be victim of the success of the community, because if you have too much impact, the people from OuiShare will be hired by by your partners, and will be hired by some other people, and it's the end of the impact for OuiShare. But it's great. From time to time, it's great that someone come to OuiShare, make a great project, have a great media exposure, and so find a great job. But we have to find a way to make sure that it continues, and that it just doesn't stop because one of our most active members find a job with one of our partners.
And this happened to you as well, right? You started working with Desjardins as a OuiShare, and then you are working for them part-time. Is that correct?
Exactly. It's one of the way I found to be financially sustainable for OuiShare. To be completely fair, I was an employee of Desjardins before. I was a full-time employee of Desjardins as an internal consultant, and I was doing OuiShare a part of my professional activities. But because Desjardins is a great financial co-op, I achieved to meet the people which were interested with the OuiShare project. They were our partner on the first edition of Eco2Fest, and then they proposed me to join their innovation team, which was completely different of my initial job. So, and to work only on collaborative projects. So only on subjects related to OuiShare, and it's 2 days per week part-time. So this pays the rent, and I'm able to work on OuiShare the 3 other days of my week, and to gain some additional revenue from the project that I do in OuiShare. But
so would you say that
financial? Yeah.
Would you say that you have a good balance between your, money generating work and OuiShare activities?
Yeah, this is a great debate. Should we be employed, part-time employed, or fully independent? I think, I have a great balance, having these jobs that pay the minimum, and having the liberty to do what I want on 3 days per week, and to work on OuiShare. So yeah, I think it's a good example of hybrid solutions that we can experiment, because on OuiShare we are always experimenting. So this is my current experimentation, and it's going well.
Yes, that's something to aspire to. Alex, well, thank you very much for your time. You will be coming to the fest in Paris on the first week of July. So I hope we'll meet there. We will certainly meet there. And anyone who's listening to this podcast, please reach out to Alex if you have any further questions. And we will all meet in Paris very soon.
Yeah, thank you, Manel, and reach out Alex, but reach out also all the other connectors of Quebec and all the other connectors of other communities that all have different stories, very interesting and very important to be inspired about.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Manel.